telling women that the greatest thing they'll ever do in life is get married. You know what's harder to accomplish than getting married? Literally anything else. Getting a degree in biochemistry, flying a plane, folding a fitted sheet. Have you ever tried to do that? It's impossible. When you tell young girls that getting married will be their greatest achievement, you send them a message that they can't do other amazing things.
Welcome back, Stingers. Lilly Singh made a speech, and I only saw a tiny clip of it. I think this was maybe a year ago. I know that on social media there are clips of this 9-10 months ago, so it's not anything new. However, I just happened to see it, and I think it's resurfacing now for whatever reason. Now, I am on holiday, and there's a bunch of noise, and I apologize in advance for that. The walls are extremely thin in my building, and you can hear people coughing upstairs or downstairs. It's always pretty loud, so I just want to warn you, if you hear anything in the background, it is not me. It is the neighbors. And it's Friday night, so there we go. So I'm not on social media as much as I would be if I was home, obviously, and that is a good thing. I could barely get internet here, but when I do like to look at a lot of different things because I'm kind of really remote out here where I am. So you guys know that I am working on my first documentary on women in marriage. So anything about kind of marriage and discussions about that with different cultures are of interest to me. And being a 47-year-old woman who never, ever in my life, I can't think of a moment growing up as a little girl of dreaming of some wedding or dressing up in a wedding gown or wanting to be married or anything like that. And not only did I never dream about it, I'm the youngest of 6 children, and my parents got married in their early 20s. And I still can't figure out what age. I really have to go ask my mom, because I think it was like 22, which I think is too young. But back in those days, back in the late 50s, 60s, that's pretty much that was the average age. Being the youngest of 6 children, I knew what that kind of dynamic was about. I come from a big family. Both my parents come from a big family. My father and my mother came from a big family, so that's probably why subconsciously they just wanted a big family, probably. I don't know. I never asked. So I never wanted to be married. And not only that, my parents, and this is probably odd because I think most women, and not men, I'm not talking about men yet, are bred to be married. Most women, it's discussed even as little girls. It was never discussed with me. My father never talked about it. My mother never talked about it. They never asked did I want to be married. It was never a conversation ever, like not one time. And I don't know if that was purposeful. I don't know if that was not purposeful, or maybe they just assumed. I don't know. I just think it's very rare because all of my friends had discussed marriage with their parents and like either really, really wanted it because they thought it was a big deal or whatever. I don't know, or was coerced into it in that way. So I heard this clip and I thought it was interesting. Lilly Singh is Indian, and I believe she is LGBTQ. I don't know 100%. I don't know her story 100%. I know that she has very interesting conversations. I think I've seen a couple of her interviews in the past, and she's very educated and eloquent, and I think she's smart. And I've heard her story about how she didn't want to go to medical school or something, and she wanted to actually be on YouTube. And her parents, of course, or her culture, thought that she was out of her mind, thinking that she was going to make something out of YouTube, and she did. And she was very determined, and she did do that. So, being from her culture, her making the statement that, to please stop telling young women that marriage is the greatest thing you'll accomplish. And I looked at the comments, and there were, men, whew, my goodness, I don't know what's happening right now with men and women. And I'm in the Caribbean, and a woman asked me the other day, we were having a nice conversation. She said, "What is going on with men and women? The men don't want to be with women. The women don't want to be with men. They're fighting. I said, I don't know. I really don't. I said, I know. What I do know is that women have a lot of opportunities now. This is not the 30s. Women are making more money than ever, becoming more educated than ever, and are able to feed, clothe, and shelter themselves, which did not happen back in the 30s and the 40s, where we needed permission from men to do just mundane things, open up a bank account. You had to have a husband. It's unbelievable. We didn't have a lot of rights. So we needed men and needed marriage in a lot of ways that now we do not. I have my own bank account. I can pay my own bills with ease. I'm very comfortable, and I'm really, really happy, you know, not being in a marriage. I'm really, really happy. And I know a lot of women are in marriages that are very, very dissatisfied and very disappointed and very unhappy. And they'll never talk about it, which is why I started my documentary on all of these kind of secret lies and things that women keep to themselves, even amongst themselves, about marriage and relationships. And they don't warn the youth. They don't really open up and talk about it, which is very disturbing. But that's a whole other. I've touched on this before, but that's a whole other thing. So in this short clip, which is very short, and I played it for you, she says, stop telling girls that this is their greatest accomplishment, okay, that they'll ever have. And I looked at the comments, and most of the comments are from men, incels, these red pill, blue pill men, and I have a lot of compassion for them. I've said this before. I really do. I'm one of six, 3 boys, 3 girls in my family, and I grew up with brothers, and I know how insecure they are. They're extremely insecure. People talk about women being insecure. Men are so insecure, so insecure. We're going to talk more about that in a minute, because I'm going to let you listen to another clip that proves so. But my goodness, the egos that they have that are so easily broken down. And women have so much power in all avenues, and we can easily crush a man's ego in seconds, honey, in seconds. Just break them all the way down as easily as we can build them up. The most accomplished men have strong women in their lives. Okay, we're the mother of all things. We bring you into life. We're the first teacher. We're the first nurturer. We're the first everything. And we have such extreme power. Now, some women don't know how to handle it. That's a whole other video. Or maybe we'll get into that. I'll definitely get into that in my documentary. But we have so much more power, so much more. Okay. So the comments were atrocious, atrocious, and you can go and look for yourself. You got these incels, which are men who aren't even getting sex. They're not even in relationships, which is unbelievable, because they have the most commentary when it comes to women talking about freedom and women talking about sexual independence and all sorts of stuff. They have the most to say. And it's like, I don't understand their position, because they can't even get a girlfriend. Like, these are like 30-year-olds who've never even had a relationship because no woman wants them. Women don't want to have sex with them. Women don't even want to talk to them. Women don't even want to be taken out by them. None of these men are getting a chance. And they found this big community where they could sob to each other and cry to each other and moan to each other. And a lot of it, if you look at their commentary, it's not even about them being better people so that they can have a woman. It's all F women, women ain't shit, modern women, this and that. And I'm like, you've never even experienced a woman. Like, some of them haven't even held a woman's hand. Like, it's really, really sad. And I don't want to say it's all their fault because there are some vicious women out here. And I know I was not very kind when I was young. And I stepped on a lot of egos, honey. I crushed, I spitted on so many egos of a lot of these young men who were up in my damn face 24/7. My goodness. And I had a lot of friends who were very nasty. They were very nasty to the boys and, horrible, horrible. They did horrible things. So I can't say it's all their fault that they have never experienced a woman sexually or otherwise. And I definitely feel for them in a lot of ways. And, this is another thing that just needs to be talked about, with the younger generation, with young girls. I'm talking junior high. We need to start having these conversations very early, probably earlier than that, maybe even grade school. And, you know, that's just a whole other conversation. It really is. It's a whole other conversation. That is necessary, though. It's necessary to have it at some point, and I will. And I will. And you guys know on my channel, I talk about accountability, so I don't let women off the hook. I come for y'all asses knee deep. Knee deep, I come for your asses. I don't coddle. I don't do any of that shit. So don't expect it. So Lilly is saying, stop teaching little girls this is the greatest accomplishment. And I agree with that. And guess what? Guess who's teaching them? Other women. And this is what my documentary is about, is women that are doing that. Women are telling other women, you better get married. I've heard it. I remember being young and somebody's like, you better have them kids now. And I'm like, ew, who the hell are you talking to? So I can be like you. I can be fat and all stretched out, sitting on the porch. And you got to work. Your man's not taking care of you. These women have jobs. They're pretending that they're being taken care of while they got 2 and 3 jobs, struggling, and they're fucking miserable. They're miserable. I cannot honestly say that I've met many happy married women. I haven't. Not even my mother. I see the facade of the ones who claim they're happy. I see bullshit. And I know they're full of it because they always come up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're living your best life. You have no kids. I can tell that you're just glowing. You must not be married. And there's a reason why they say that. There's a deep-rooted reason why they say that I look like I'm glowing, that I always look so fresh and young for my age. And they know why. I don't have the stress. I don't have the burden. I don't have to sacrifice. And I'm not saying that life isn't full of sacrifices. I've sacrificed a lot of sleep and money and time to do the things that I want to do. But I never had to sacrifice, for a very long time with a man in my face because I just find it easier to get him out of my face and do what I want to do. I don't see the benefit. That's what it is. I don't see the benefit. If there was some big benefit, sure. I just don't see it. I don't see it. And so women are the ones that are doing this, telling each other they need to get married, warning the other little girls, oh, you better find a man quick before your beauty fades, and all this bullshit that I'm going to talk about later on in depth. I'm really going to have this conversation. And then you'll hear men chime in because they're very insecure. They want you to hurry up and settle. And they want you to hurry up and marry them, the plumber guy who can't afford the rent. And you'll be out working 10 jobs and barefoot and pregnant. And there goes your looks, honey. He'll strip them right from you. Talk about stripping looks. He'll do it. The men will do it. You know. You see these women, they look amazing when they get married. 5 years in, they look like shit. They're done. 40-inch waists. You know, hair ain't combed. They have no time. They're on their third job. Kids at home. The guy sitting around with a beer. She's paying most of the bills, but no one's talking about that. You know, it's all these little dirty little secrets. And I agree that it's not a big accomplishment. I don't even know, and I have to think about this. I don't even know if getting married is an accomplishment, even though a lot of people say it is. You know, especially in the black community. Guy's married, and it's like, okay, now what next? You know, how long did it take you to go to City Hall and sign them papers? You know, half an hour? Like, oof, that was real heavy, you know? And people in the comments acting like Lilly was saying that, you know, no one should get married. And she wasn't saying any of that. And then they go into talking about she's gay and she, like, you know, trying to bring her down in other ways. You know, she's very accomplished and I'm sure she's very happy. And she gets to do things that other people don't do, that aren't accomplished, that haven't put in the work. She can afford the lifestyle that she wants to afford. And, you know, it just seems to be like a lot of secret jealousy with things like that. You know, men are upset that women are doing well. Men are upset that women live longer. Women are, and without them, if we want to start talking about psychology, you know, single women live longer, live better lives, and really don't need these men. I think it's the opposite. The men are dying. They need somebody to take care of them. They don't get far without the women, you know, in their careers. You know, it's just all of that is not discussed. So people took what she said out of context, and I think because they wanted to. And you have men. This is what got me. This is what really got me. You know, and there's some men from her culture who are on social media talking about, oh, you know, there was one guy, and he's like, oh, well, let's tell the 100 men to take the engagement rings back from their girlfriends. I'm like, 100 men? Like, hilarious. Guys, do any of you know 100 men, first of all, who can afford a fucking engagement ring right now? You know, on the news, they're saying that millennials are moving back at home with their parents because they can't even afford their rent. They can't even afford to take care of themselves. Have been moving back home at 30-something years old. And this guy on social media knows 100 fucking men who have went out and bought engagement rings for their girlfriends. Bullshit. How many men, in fact, let's go even further. How many men do you know who are groomed for marriage? I don't know any. I don't know any men who are teaching their sons, like, listen, you need to prepare now for when you meet your wife. You need to prepare mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. You need to start saving away money right now so that you can afford to have a family where your wife doesn't have to be out struggling, working 3 and 4 jobs and coming home too tired to even look good, too tired to cook, too tired to clean the kids up. You know, do you guys know any men like this? I don't know any. Don't lie. Don't come in my comments because I will block and delete you. I'm not even in the mood for bullshit. I'm not. And I know you incels and you red pillars love coming into my comments, but I'm not even in the mood right now. Right now it just triggered me. This conversation triggered me in a way. I don't know any men who are teaching their sons or teaching other men. Get on social media right now. Maybe I'm wrong. Show me some channels. Put the links in. I usually don't allow this, but I want you to put the links in where you see grown men teaching the youngins the young generation, to prepare for marriage. Where do you see that? Men aren't even groomed to be married. They're groomed to sow their wild oats while the little girls are dreaming of getting married. So already it's a battle. Men are supposed to run the streets and get as many women as they can, but the women are supposed to sit there with their legs closed and save their vagina for some fucking man. This is unreal. And I'm going to let you listen to this other clip of some insecurity that I came across. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But hold on to that thought, because we're definitely going to come back to women being groomed to save themselves for some fucking man, but men being groomed to go out and screw as many women as he possibly can. And then when he gets married, she has to pay half the bills, but no one talks about that. And he gets to go out and pretend he's taking care of his family, which he is not. I consider taking care of, meaning her ass can sit home comfortably and don't even have to look at her wallet. Do any of you guys know men like this? Look at your fathers. Was your mom sitting at home baking cookies for you, sitting on the porch? I grew up with a multitude of girls who had this scenario, but this was back in the day. You guys know I was born in the mid-70s. Like 70, I was born in 75, exact mid. And when my mother got married, she was a housewife for as long as she could. But look, there were 6 of us. She had to go to work. My father could not carry the load. They just bit off more than they can chew. My mother went out working, when I was younger. And men want to talk about breaking up the family. Get the money so she ain't got to go out and work and break up the fucking family or ruin the family, whatever she gets accused of. Why can't you pay all the bills? And you can't pay all the bills because you're not groomed for that type of situation. Now, I'm not an expert in any field, and I'm not a medical professional. Okay, so maybe, in my documentary, I'm going to have marriage counselors. I'm going to have people who are experts in those fields to break this stuff down. But I don't have that information, and none of these people do either. They want to talk about statistically speaking. It's like, shut the fuck up. You don't know statistically speaking shit. You're just on there running your fucking mouth. But instead of, like me, admitting that you don't know, admitting it, you just come on there trying to pretend it sound like you're so fucking educated. And I'm tired of it. Marriage is not the greatest achievement one can get. After you get married, what are you going to do? Just sit in the house and be like, I'm married. Is that your goal? Okay? Is that your goal? Like, she's saying, stop telling women this. Like, that is the thing to reach for. And women were always told this, going back to the beginning of time. Oh my gosh, you got a husband. Like, that was her biggest role. Go get married, sit in the house, and do all the things that she probably didn't want to do. You think most of those women want that life? No. And I don't see anything wrong with it. To people who want to down housewives and things like that, I don't see anything wrong with that. Like, if that's what you want to do, if that's all you want to do, you don't want to go to college, you don't want to travel, you don't want to see the world, you don't want to accomplish anything else, I don't see anything wrong with that. Go get married, sit in the house, and raise a ton of kids. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. At all. However, that was never my ultimate goal. My mother didn't even want that. She never wanted any of that shit. And she did it anyway. Why? Because she was born in the 40s, and that's what you're groomed to do. And most women are groomed to do that. I always wonder how many of these women, like, just going back just as far as possible, really wanted that life. I'm just so curious what percentage really wanted that shit. How many of them really wanted that? You guys ever think about that or no? I do. I'm like, is that what you really wanted? And interviewing a lot of women, I haven't met one yet, and I'm sure that I will. I haven't met one yet that's what they really wanted. They just thought that was what they were supposed to do, which is kind of sad. So you have this ton of men on social media, tell tell all the boyfriends, 100 men, to take their engagement rings. This dude doesn't even know 100 fucking people. And he doesn't know 100 men who can afford an engagement ring and can afford to take care of no woman. If you're a guy listening, in the comments, if you dare, be honest. Look into your bank account right now. Look at your salary. Look at your lifestyle. Can you afford to add on 2 or 3 other people, a woman and children, and still be comfortable? And what I mean is comfortable is that all your rent's paid. You can vacation a couple times a year. She does not have to go out and work. She doesn't have to go out into these streets and be away from the children. She could sit at home and actually take care of the house. How many of you can afford that? Put in the comments. How many of you? You know, I look at my salary. Now, I live alone in New York City. I don't know where you guys live and what the rent is where you live. I just know New York rent, basically. So this is what I thought about when I think about myself and my lifestyle. I live in New York City. I can afford my rent. In fact, I can afford to pay my rent for the year, pay all my utilities, have my regular lifestyle, go out 3 or 4 times a week, go see a show or go to the movies. I don't do a whole lot of things because usually I'm working 6 to 7 days a week so that I can afford to do things. I could buy what I want to. I don't really have to like budget. You know, when I go buy food and groceries and stuff, I buy what the hell I want to buy. And when I want to go somewhere, I do what I want to do. And right now I'm on holiday for 3 months, the whole entire winter. And I could afford my apartment where I'm staying. I'm going to be staying in a couple of places. And I've already paid the rent for that and my place in New York. So I would say I'm doing well. I'm not struggling in any facet. And when I think about if I were to bring a whole person into my house, let's say I brought in some man and 2 children, and that man didn't have to work, and I would be carrying the responsibility of all of us. Now I have a bigger light bill, a bigger gas bill. I got to buy more groceries. I got to buy more clothes. I got to feed, clothe, and shelter these people. I can honestly tell you that it would be a problem for me. Like, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I would have to start another business or go out and go back into the corporate world, which I haven't been for years. I would have to change my whole dynamic to do that in order to be comfortable and not struggle and not be on welfare or not. This is what I mean. Like, the way that I live, I don't have to do all these other things. You know, like if I brought these people into my household and was taking care of them, all my bills would go up, triple. And in order to be in the position where we're not struggling, where nobody's starving and we're eating leftovers every single night and like we can only go out once a year and things like that, you know, it's just not going to work. So I look at these men and they're always in the comments talking about marriage, talking about modern women don't want to be married and blah, 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 this and that. I'm like, most of you, and I mean most, and I'm going to be comfortable and say most, can't even afford a fucking wife. You can't afford a wife. You can't even afford your own place comfortably. You're on budgets, you're penny pinching, you got a bunch of roommates. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And they're going off on a woman who is successful. I bet Lilly Singh can afford her and 3 other people. I bet she's, paying for her whole family back in her country comfortably. And I have to say, this past couple of years, I comfortably had to support a couple of my family members. And it didn't put a dent in my salary. Like, it didn't hurt me in any way. You understand what I'm saying? And so we look at somebody like her, and people are ridiculing her. I'm like, she can actually afford to be married. If she married someone, if she married whoever she, wanted to be with, her partner or whatever, and they wouldn't have to work. You got all these fucking men in the comments who can't even afford a wife. And you got married people in the comments who know that their wives have 2 and 3 jobs. And they're like, I handle my business. I'm like, what fucking business? Your wife works. Like, and for me, and this is my opinion, if you're a man and you're married and your woman works, and I mean has to work. A lot of women want to work. You get bored sitting at home. You want something of your own, obviously. So a lot of women work because they want to. I'm saying if she has to work. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't foot all them bills comfortably. You can't. I don't consider that taking care of your family and handling your business. I just don't. I don't consider it. Because if you were, she wouldn't have to work. And I don't know what the percentage of married women who work, who have to work. I don't know what that percentage is. But I do know women who don't have to work. Their husbands are plastic surgeons. Their husbands have prominent careers. And they're home with the kids. And they live very comfortably. They vacation 5, 6, 7 times a year. She gets to go to Park Avenue and buy whatever she wants, high-end clothes, and it doesn't put a dent in their salary. She can go to the spa. She can enjoy herself. I know women like this. Okay? Their husbands provide for the family. How many of you guys in the comments can do this? Do you dare answer that question, or are you going to or deflect and start talking about other bullshit? I guarantee you there'll be some bullshit comments that have nothing to do with what I asked you to do. I asked you to do one question. Answer it. Answer that question. Can you afford marriage? Can you? Also, answer the question. How many of you guys are groomed for marriage as young men? Your father sit you down and say, look, you need a job now. You need to start building and saving for when you get married. You're going to want to take care of your family. You need hundreds and thousands of dollars to do that, to buy a home, to pay the mortgage, to pay the electric, the water, the gas, to buy your wife what she needs, to have insurance, to be able to take care of those children. How many? I don't know any. 0. I don't know any. And all these men with these manosphere, videos, they got so much shit to say. Why don't you get on there and talk to men and say, listen, guys, you need to keep your tiny little dicks in your pants and worry about building yourself and preparing for a wife. Are you mentally and emotionally ready to commit to somebody? Are they even groomed to commit? Like, all this is conversations, guys. All this is. You got these insecure people in the comments. Anything women do that is empowering, they get so insecure about that. Oh, don't empower women to go to college. Oh, why are you going to college? Men don't care about degrees. Who the fuck said it was for you? Wait, you think I went to college so that a man could comment on my degree? Are you kidding me? You think I built a business so that you could care about it? I didn't do all this shit for you. This is for me. How dare women have something for themselves? How dare they not want to be laying in the bed with some man telling them what to do? How dare they not want to lay down and get stretched out having a bunch of children, thinking that's the greatest achievement they can ever have in life? How dare they? All this insecurity, it's like, keep them down, keep them brainwashed. Keep women brainwashed. Make them think that men, is the best thing to do is to come get some man. It's the best thing to do is sit around the house. Nobody said there was anything wrong with that, but it's not the greatest achievement. And this is what she was saying. Now, I wanted you guys to listen to this clip because this one I found really interesting. And I just want to dig into this for a second. All right, listen to this and I'll be back.
Science has shown, this is a study from the Teachman Heritage Study. All the way on the left is what happens when you marry your first sexual partner. The chances of staying married is 87%. As the amount of men you have sex with before you actually get married starts to go up, that chance of the marriage working out consistently goes down. You can see over there towards the bottom, when you start getting into like 16 plus sexual partners, the chances for marriage working out significantly drops. It goes down to 17%. So we go from 87% down to 17% by having a whole lot of sex. And it just so happens that the more men a woman has sex with, the lower her ability to pair bond, to really bond with one man. You might ask yourself, well, why isn't that not the case for men? There's a really good saying that goes around. What do you call a key that opens many locks? A master key. What do you call a lock that's opened by many keys? A shitty lock.
So you guys heard that clip. You have this man on social media, and I guess he's talking to men. I don't know who the hell he's talking. He's not talking to women. He's talking to these young men, probably these incels, encouraging them to find virgin girls. But that's always been a thing. And you know what the interesting thing is since he's talking about statistics, and he wants to appear to be logical. First of all, a man can't even tell whether you're a virgin or not. And if you go and look at that clip, it says no hymen, no diamond, which is funny because it's like, oh gosh, we're going back to men can't even buy these fucking diamonds. It's just like, I can't. Oh my gosh. He's got no diamond anyway. He's got no diamond anyway. So interesting enough, here's a fun fact for you men listening. Men can't tell whether women are virgins or not, period. In fact, the doctors can't even tell. A hymen can be broken at any given moment. You could be doing gymnastics and break a hymen. You could do a split and break a hymen. You could be running and break it. Like all that, like this whole entire thing. And I fault this to movies where the girl is bleeding and she's like, oh, I just popped my cherry and blah, blah, blah. Most people don't even bleed their first time. Like, it's not even like that. The virgin experience for women is not even like that. I don't know where you guys learn it, I guess in movies or books or where men are talking about this. And I'm like, guys, you don't even understand what you're talking about. And so, there's a couple of things in here that is disturbing. Number one is the insecurity of men. And the reason really why they want virgin girls is so that girls don't have the experience of knowing that, number one, they don't know what the fuck they're doing sexually. And they don't want you comparing them to other men. That is like one of their biggest insecurities ever, darling, ever. And, so if you have a young girl who's already had sexual partners, she has experience with men. She knows her body. She knows what that orgasm is going to be like. She knows, how different men feel. She knows the little dicks from big dicks. She knows all that stuff that's so threatening to men. And I mean, I say threatening, I mean threatening. Oh my gosh, to have them sit there and take off their clothes and they got their little bird chests and their little 2-incher leaning to the fucking side, and you're like, ew. Well, the last guy I had was like 8 inches and he had this and that and he could do this and that. That is a problem for men. That is a serious problem. And I know this is why they want these virgin girls, so that she doesn't know any better. But that's also why older men like young, really young girls. I'm talking about, preteen, teen, because they can't decipher what is a good man or what is a real provider or what is what. They don't know anything. They don't know anything at all. The brain's not developed. They have not been anywhere. They have no clue about the psychology of men. And so they're easily impressionable. They're susceptible to all sorts of behavior, which men like they love to be around the girl who doesn't know much so they can teach them and mold them into what they want. If they get a woman their age who's experienced, now they have to be challenged. She's going to be like, wait a minute, I had this, that, and the other before. Why would I choose you? So now you have a frame of reference. And it's kind of like, I saw a clip, and there was a celebrity who claimed that she was a virgin when she got married, and this is how, like, her claim to fame, honey. And you guys know who this person is. I just don't want to mention. So she mentions it a lot, like in interviews, like, I only had one man and blah 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 blah. But then, I guess it's like an honor for her. I don't know. But then, you'll see in other interviews where she talks about like how good the sex is. And I'm thinking like, well, how do you know? If you've only had one man, and I had a friend like this back in my 20s. She was actually in her 40s at the time. I had an older friend, and she only had one guy. I think I've spoken about her before. I've mentioned her. She had the same man since junior high as she married. She only had one sexual partner. And so this celebrity that I'm talking about, she often talks about sex. She's very, I don't know why. She's vocal about her marriage, like sex, private, intimate things. And she's like, the sex is good. And I'm thinking like, how do you know it's good? Because you've only had one man. You know what I mean? And I kind of feel sorry for her in that instant, like, the instance of like not really knowing what kind of options she has. You see what I'm saying? Like, you've only had one man. How do you know what you are getting is good? How would you know that? If I only tasted one apple, I don't know how many varieties of apples there are, but I think there's hundreds. If I only had one apple and I was like, this is the best apple in the world, and somebody else was like, oh no, that's not the best apple. You got to taste this one, right? And I tasted the other one. And I'm like, oh shit. I've been eating this one the whole time thinking it was the best because I've never had any other apples. And that goes for any fruit or anything. That goes for anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't miss what they never had. It's like people growing up in poverty. Like, that's all they know. And they're like, oh, I'm living well. And it's like, compared to fucking what? Like, living well, that's living well. And then you go to a rich person's home and you're like, wow, oh wait, this is living well. Because you have a frame of reference. Like, there's other options. You have something to compare it to. And this is what we do when we buy anything. When we go shopping, we're like, oh, this is a cute shirt. Let me see what else they have. Oh, this is a great car. Let me see what else they offer. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't sit there and like, oh, this is the greatest I've ever had when you've had nothing else. And so men love to do this out of insecurity. And I understand why they're insecure. I get it. I'm not making fun of them in any way. I get it though. I truly do get it. You get a woman who's had other men, all of a sudden you're not the fucking best. She's looking at you and she's judging and she's comparing. She's comparing everything. I know that's what I do. When I go out on dates and I get a treatment, and that best one, the best treatment that I get, I'll compare all the other ones to that one. I'm like, hold on. This is the shit that you're pulling? Honey, I've had better. I've had better, okay? You are not impressing me at all, right? And I'm not saying that you have to keep going out having millions of different types of apples. You don't have to drive a million cars. You don't have to sleep with a million men. If you do, that's your business, honey. That's your business. It is. What I'm saying is that, how do you know it's the best if you've only had one? And so men, especially older men, like to get these young girls. And he's talking about no hymen, no diamond. Oh, gosh, this is so funny. He's like, you can't even afford a fucking diamond to give anybody. And if you can, she's going to be working anyway. You're going to be married. She's going to be slaving away with 2 and 3 jobs. Like, I already know how it pans out. Like, I'm not impressed with the whole scenario. You're not going to be having her in some $1 million apartment on Park Avenue chilling, you know? So you can keep the diamond. You can keep the fucking diamond. So these men don't even know what to look for. How do you know she's a virgin? Even if she told you she was. I had friends who used to play that game. They tell men that men would get so excited. Like, it would be like a challenge to get her. Meanwhile, she's had whatever she wanted to have, honey. How do you know that? You don't know what a virgin is like. You can't fucking tell. The gynecologist can't even tell. How can you tell? Some man who's never had shit anyway. Or you're out slinging with 100 women. And notice how when he came up with all this data, when they said, why isn't it for men? He skipped that part. He didn't want to go into the data for that. He just used some stupid analogy about a lock. He just used some stupid analogy because he didn't have any answer for what he was explaining. He had no answer for that. Okay? He had no reasoning. He had no answer behind that. So he shifted gears for you to be distracted. But I'm not distracted. You had no reason for it. So you have all this stuff. You got Lilly Singh talking about not telling little girls that this is their biggest achievement, which I agree. It's not the biggest achievement. And you know what? Maybe it's an achievement for some women. Maybe they've never done anything in their lives. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they dropped out of high school. Maybe they had no goals. Maybe they had no ambition. And they're like, you know what? Marriage is a big deal. Or maybe there are women who've been trying to get married their whole lives and they finally did it, and it's an achievement. Maybe it's an achievement for some people. And if it is, honey, that's great for you. It's not for me. If I got married next week, it is not my greatest achievement. There's so many things that, and she's right, there's so many things that are more difficult than going to get married. She didn't say that, having some long 20-year marriage was not an achievement for some people. Some people really work hard on, that type of relationship. Michelle Obama recently spoke about this. That 30 years that's something she's worked on. And that is an accomplishment if that is your goal. If you say my goal is to have a really happy, long, committed marriage, then you know what? That is a great achievement for you. But also, Michelle Obama went to Princeton and Harvard, darling, and she's got all her shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, she did things before she got married. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's accomplished before she got married. Okay? So we're talking about a whole different ball game, right? And so you have that, and you have all this conversation with these men who are trying to, and gaslight, brainwash. There's all sorts of things going on right now. And it's really sad, and it's kind of disgusting and despicable. There's so many words I can use to describe this, guys. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm tired. I want you to get into the comments, and I want you to have a conversation. What the F is going on? What is going on? There's so many insecure men, and they have nowhere to turn to. I mean, they've got Dr. Jordan Peterson, who's on social media, and he has a lot of really amazing things to say coming from, a grown man's perspective, and a man who's not trying to shut women down or not trying to shut men down. And, he's a medical professional, so he has a lot of insight, and a lot of them look up to him. But a lot of these young men go into these red pill communities. Like, you think these men are going to get married? They can't even hold a woman's hand. They can't even get a girl to pay attention to them. And that's the sad part. They're looking at the wrong things, and and it's making it worse. Women don't even want them. You think women are going to give them a chance with their mindset of, oh, let me just get some pussy and fuck these bitches. And I think when they turn off the computer, they're just sad. They're sad. They're lonely. The women don't want them. They get rejected all day. If that's how they feel, I don't like the word rejection, but A lot of them use that word. That's how they feel. And I dismiss men all day long. As soon as I go outside, there's men in my face saying, hi, can I talk to you? Blah, blah, blah. All day. And I'm old. I'm not even the young spring chicken. So I can imagine what it's like for the 20-year-olds, honey. If I'm getting it all day, every day, I don't even know what they're dealing with. And I dismiss 99% of these people. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't. Why? I can feed, clothe, and shelter myself. I'm extremely happy. And I'm satisfied. And you know what? If you're a woman and you're in the comments and you're miserable and you want to be married and you're not in my position, this is a whole other conversation for you. But I am genuinely happy and satisfied. I'm happy and I'm satisfied with the way things are going right now. And I don't think marriage is a woman's greatest accomplishment. I do not. And I do wish as well that women would stop grooming little girls in this way. Enough is enough. All right, guys. Put your thoughts and commentary below. I know there's going to be a lot. This is a triggering video, as most of my videos are. But I'll see you in my next podcast. Head over to ScorpioSunScorpioMoon main channel to view other videos. Go to my website to book any readings and buy my amazing books and all that good stuff. I'll see you guys soon.